Well, hello, garden and homestead friends. This is Mickey back with you again from Hills Mill Homestead. It's a beautiful day right here in the raised bed area. I'm going to give you an update on how our vegetables are growing. And I want to talk a little more about our Electroculture antenna that I make and give you some more details. Let me just say, thank you. Let me just say that from the beginning, if you're growing any type of vegetables or plants, flowers, anything that you're growing, fruit trees, we need to start with a basic foundation. And your foundation in your soil needs to have a proper balance of nutrients. And without some of those nutrients, this antenna is not going to replace the deficiencies that may be in your soil. So keep in mind, we have a few comments now and then, and people will ask, what will this antenna do? What will it replace? And it doesn't replace anything that's deficient in your soil. This antenna is going to boost whatever is already in your soil. And this antenna is receiving natural static electricity that is in our atmosphere all around us. And that the electricity that's in the atmosphere is being received with this antenna, and into the soil it's adding electrons. My design is designed to receive a radius of about 3 feet around this antenna that's going to draw the electrons into the soil. Now, when we want to talk about natural electricity, static electricity that's in our atmosphere, you know, there's different ways to receive that electricity and bring it down into your plant. And another way of another method of electroculture is by using metal trellises, galvanized fence. And let me just say that when you're growing your vegetables on a fence, then you're receiving natural electricity through that galvanized wire, the static electricity, because the static electricity is everywhere, it's all around us, so it's constantly going to receive that energy. And anything that's growing on a trellis, in a basket, anything where the foliage is touching that actual trellis or basket is going to receive the actual electricity that's going to help improve the plant growth. If you're a farmer, or if you know of a farmer, you ask that farmer how difficult it is to keep a fence row clean out. Now, whether it be from weeds, trees, whatever, we all know that birds land on the fence and they drop their seeds, and that's how a lot of the cedar trees and the different type of trees will grow through that fence. So it is difficult to keep a fence row clean. If you will look at your fence row that is growed up that you can't keep cleaned out, you look at the fence row that is running north and south, and you're going to see that it's drawing electromagnetic energy as well, and that it is also difficult to keep your fence row cleaned out. So that's just a visual proof that you can look at your fence rows and know that something is going on that is making everything grow better that's touching that fence. I would suggest to do your research, because there is a lot of research out there on electroculture. And if you wanted to start to look into electroculture, go back to the Library of Congress, and you're going to find a 35-page study that was done in 1926 by the Department of Agriculture, explaining electroculture and the results of some of the studies and experiments that they had. And let me tell you that if you're not familiar with Nikola Tesla, you should check him out. He has a lot of research, almost 200 patents. So Nikola Tesla was working on a machine to patent where you can receive natural electricity into your home just like Wi-Fi. Dr. Lukvosky, he has a Lukvosky coil. Part of that information I used, along with Tesla and along with a CB antenna. And so I just, between all the information I could gather, this is the result for the antenna that I designed that I believe works the best. And as I said, we've got a lot of feedback, pictures, testimonies. There's a lot of videos out there that are using the antennas. I do notice there's a lot more videos coming out about electroculture, which I think that is wonderful, because the more that it's out there, the more people are going to become aware of electroculture. And as I said, this is not something that is new. This has been back since, this goes back on documented to the mid 1700s all the way into the late 1900s, mid 1900s. So I would just encourage you that if you don't know anything about electroculture, to experiment with electroculture. Try it yourself. Now we sell these antennas, and we hope that you enjoy our channel. And if you'd like to support our channel, we ask that you buy a minimum of 4. And the reason why is because of the price of shipping. If you buy less than 4, then it actually costs us money just to ship these to you, in which we do. But we'd ask that you buy a minimum of 4. However, you don't have to purchase mine. Make these yourself. The overall length is between 2 and 3 feet. You can figure that out. There are 7 rings. This is 2 to 3 inches on the short side and around 5 inches on the tall side. And the short side will go into the soil. You're going to want to wrap this clockwise for our northern hemisphere, north of the equator. You want to have it clockwise. And as I said, you want to place this 4 to 6 inches away from your plant. Now, from all of my information that I've gathered to make this design, just think of this as a 3-foot umbrella, and that it's going to receive the natural electricity in a 3-foot radius. And the center of the antenna, the center point of that radius, is this antenna. So the closer this antenna is to your plant, the more it will receive. Here we are, like I said, in our raised bed area. These are my Kennebec potatoes. Looks like they're blooming really well. Starting to come on. I like my CB antenna here. And you can see where the blooms are at on this antenna. And if you'll look back, you'll see that the antenna's got the closest blooms. But we'll see about that on the end result when we dig these potatoes. You can see how tall they are. And I planted these 6 inches in the soil. Now, I've not seen any potatoes being made above ground yet. If I do, I'll come back and add soil. Our onions, I've been ringing some of these onions. They're finally starting to make bulbs. And I think these onions are doing pretty well. As you can see, they're pretty thick, and I've been thinning them out as I go. But we had a really hard rainstorm one day that dropped about 2 inches of rain in a matter of an hour or so, and that's why a lot of these are leaned over. It just weighted them down, but they should be fine. And my pepper plants, now these dudes are taking off. These are actually growing better than the ones in the container garden. But these are all hot peppers that I've got mixed in with the onions as companion plants. Now, I'll say another thing about our potatoes. I have the taller antennas in here, but I also have my coil antenna every 2 to 3 feet along this raised bed. Same thing over here in onions. I have one of these coils about every 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet. And that's what you want to do for a raised bed, or just absolutely in your garden. You want to place these 2 to 3 feet apart. And as I said, you want to place the antenna close to your plant, 4 to 6 inches away from your plant. If your plant is here and you place this antenna 2 or 3 feet away from it, chances are it's not going to show any improvement for your plant. The most that it's going to do, in my opinion, because of the design, is about a 3-foot radius. So you can just imagine that if your plant is within that 3 foot closest to the actual antenna, that's where it's going to receive the most benefit. Now, what it's actually doing is it's receiving natural electricity, static electricity, and bringing it through the antenna into the soil, the electrons. It's receiving the electrons and bringing them down into the soil. Bacteria has to have electrons to grow. So that's one of the benefits from this antenna. It is also boosting the nitrogen and the microorganisms that it's in the soil. And that is what is boosting your plant. Your plant is receiving charged microorganisms. It's receiving benefits from the good bacteria that the antenna and the electrons are making grow. There's just so many benefits. The pest. Now I can't scientifically say that if you put this antenna next to your plant, you'll not have any aphids. I can't say that. What I can say is from my results is that what I see is there are less pests on our vegetables and plants. Now, is that because the plant is healthy? Because a healthy plant is resistant for any type of aphids or any pest that's going to attack your plants. So that's either way, whether it's avoiding the pest or whether it's just making the plant healthy, and that's the resistant for pests, it works. And that's a great thing. The less chemicals that you buy and spray on your plants, in your soil, is better for you, and it's better for me. It's better for everyone. There's a study that's out that shows that 80% of Americans have glyphosate in their urine. Now, that is a byproduct of all the runoff from all the fertilizers that are put into our soil across the nation. And I just believe that the less amount of chemicals and fertilizer that we purchase and add into our soil, into our environment, is going to be better for everyone. And as I said, this antenna is not going to replace nutrients that your soil may be deficient of. So it all starts with a good foundation. And the best thing that I can tell you guys is you need a soil test. You need to make certain it's a proper pH balance for the vegetables you're growing. You need to make sure that the soil has the proper amount of nutrients that it's going to need to make the plants grow. And then when you add this copper antenna, this is just going to enhance and it's going to boost everything that's already in the soil. So as I said, if your soil is deficient in any kind of nutrients, this antenna is not going to magically replace those nutrients. So just remember, start with a good foundation. There has to be a proper soil balance of the right nutrients and the right pH. Guys, I had to step away for a moment to help a customer. So let me briefly go over these details again about my antenna. The finished length on this antenna is about 10 to 11 inches. When I start with a piece of copper wire. Now this is a 12 gauge bare copper wire. I start with a piece about between 2 and 3 feet length. And it has 7 coils. It is about 2 to 3 inches on the short side, and about 5 inches on the long side. You want to place this with the short side down, 4 to 6 inches away from your plant. And if your soil has the proper pH balance, the proper nutrients, you should see some results from this antenna. We'd like to say thank you to everyone who has ordered one of these antennas, and we greatly appreciate your support. If you like our videos and you appreciate our content and maybe learn something from what we're gathering and sharing with you, subscribe to our channel and hit the like and the notification bell, And stay with us for the next video. And thank you for watching.